It's difficult, not because you really envy those people in the way you do because it's not you, but because you never got the opportunity. While we're in Los Angeles, at the same time, radio it's like being a starving artist. I mean, it doesn't, you're not working every day, all day like the other people, so you got to have other jobs in between. And some of the jobs that I had in between doing radio shows, I worked at a car wash. I worked in the garment district down in Los Angeles, parking cars in the parking lot. I hustled on the street. I panhandled. All of that while doing radio. I slept in the movies all night. You go to the movies all night for a quarter, and the late movies, because they were all night movies, but it was mostly where people that didn't have a home slept. They closed it whenever the last movie was out, 4:45 or 6 o'clock in the morning. Then you began your homeless day. So I know what it is to be homeless. I've been homeless. Marriages that didn't work while I was in L.A., the ones that I was telling you about before, I lived at the South Side on Hoover, on 57, 54th and Hoover, not 52nd. On 54th and Hoover, South Hoover, which is now Gangland. Then it was just another black neighborhood, black segment of Los Angeles. And then I lived, after going through all the radio things and going to school for nursing and that, I moved up to the Wilshire district. The Wilshire district is white. At that time, it was a white district, just white, middle class white. This was the dividing line: black, white. But it was middle class black, middle class white. So I lived in the Sahara Apartments on Kingsley Drive. Really nice. I had a big palm tree outside my window, and a nice apartment. Got on the Olympic bus. The Olympic, it was just Olympic Boulevard is the dividing line between Wilshire. The next one up is Olympic Wilshire Pico, Olympic Pico, Wilshire. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've been down there. But from there, I went into the upper echelons of broadcasting. I can't forget my days of broadcasting in Bakersfield when I was a single parent, because from midnight to 4, playing jazz, playing blues, interacting with the people. My time at University of Northern Colorado when I did the Wounded Knee coverage for the KUNC, University of Northern Colorado. Greeley State Teachers College, formerly, now University of Northern Colorado. UCSC, KZSC, Santa Cruz. Yeah, broadcasting. So I have interviews with James Cotton, Coco Taylor. After Percy Mayfield died, I went to Los Angeles and interviewed Percy's wife. I have I have it in rough. I have to develop it. But I've got Percy Mayfield's life story and life history. And one of the things she said, Jim, uh, Percy, Percy wrote from life. He wrote from real life. That song, 2 Years of Torture? He had 2 years of torture because the woman he was with left him because he was in Oakland doing this little Percy Mayfield thing and with her house. And when she came back and found out Percy done got rid of the goods and all this other kind of stuff and everything, she left him. And Percy didn't realize that he'd been playing around with all the guys and all the boys, and what a good thing he lost. And he wrote this song about it. 2 years of torture, 365 days, 780 days I've been without her. So things like that I've experienced in my life, it's really been pretty good. But there have been difficult times that I can say pretty good now because I'm 87 and looking back. But getting up to 87, it was hell. But now looking back at what it could have been and what it was pretty good. because I got the best of what there was to offer at the time. And that's as good as you can get. You know? Yeah, now we're up to when I retired from Amtrak, I was at home and my son goes, Dad. I go, what? That so-and-so is playing over at Eli's Mile High Club. Didn't you used to record over there? Well, when I was at UC Santa Cruz, we recorded all over the places. You know, Johnny Copeland came to town, Albert Collins came to town, James Cotton came to town. You know, all the black musicians that played the Chitlin Circuit came through Santa Cruz to San Francisco, or San Francisco to Santa Cruz, because we had a blues club there. O.T. Price's was the first blues club, you know, so you meet them as they come to town. And Cotton, we got to be really, really good friends with James Cotton. Cotton used to pick me up from the airport. It was with Cotton that he, come on, man, I got to go over here. And over here would be at Buddy Guy's, you know. Hey, man, wait, we're going to go over here. I got to go see Junior, man. I got to catch up with Junior. He owed me some money. Junior, bring your ass over here, man. Give me my money. So Junior Wells, you know. And then Muddy, when Muddy came to town, since all of us were grasshoppers, and for those of you that don't know, grasshoppers during the day were marijuana smokers. You know, we knew weed. We first started with Panama Red back in the day, and that was nice clusters with red stringy hairs. That's why it was called Panama Red. Panama Red, then Jamaican, that tastes like dirt, Jamaican. Then that was gold, Maui Wowie, you know, and the gold looked like corn silk. I remember when I first rolled the corn silk and took a hit off of it, I go, man, this ain't gonna do nothing. And yeah, it was pretty good. You know, I smoked my first joint when I was in the Navy. And I remember we were on leave, and I took a hit, and I go, this ain't gonna do nothing. And I remember stepping off the curb and floating up to and on the next curb. And it's like they say, you never get another high like your first high. Well, I wasn't looking for it, and I can understand why when people slam their arm, they're trying to get that feeling back again. But see, I ain't gonna stick no needle in my arm. I ain't gonna stick no needle in me at all. I don't even like doctors sticking needles in me. So the last of your words is about me ever becoming a junkie or dealing with heroin. Forget it. Now, on the other hand, in the Navy, everybody drank, so I know what it was to get drunk. I got drunk my last time I was in Long Beach, and I went out and I was sitting on the bus bench waiting to go back to the base, man. And all I'm doing is sitting up here and puking down in the gutter. And then when I get back on the ship, I lay down, and the bed's going round and round and round and round. You know, and I go, that's it. I'm done with this. And of course, you always say I'm done with this, and there's a one more time. And that one more time, I didn't get that drunk, but when I got into bed, I knew what was going to happen when the bed started swimming. I was really through. And to this day, y'all can have that alcohol. We ain't doing alcohol. I ain't going to be an alcoholic either. But there's some interesting stories behind the marijuana thing too, man. Because in San Francisco, and this is, we were DJs, so we were out there. Some people did coke, some people did heroin. I was a grasshopper. You know, and during those days, it was against the law, really against the law. If you found a seed in your car, you could be arrested. And that again was LA. LA was pulling over people, searching their cars, going through the glove compartments, you know, and they found enough I guess, to justify it, but not stopping every black man you see to check his car. Your tail light is out, your license plate, can I see your registration? And there was nothing wrong with your car. It was a stop. It was a pretense for a stop so they could search you. So that was the whole day. Back up in San Francisco, there was this cop named Witherspoon. It didn't happen to me, but it happened one night. Everybody was at a party, and they came out. They had the little flat roofs like this. Here's the porch. There's a little roof like that on top of it. He was on the roof when they came out. He jumped down on the roof and grabbed the guy, and busted him. Witherspoon. We all knew Witherspoon, man. But that was my time. And interesting, that's how I met Carter. That's how I smoked with Muddy Waters. Muddy, when he came to town, like when they come to, hey man, can you give me a little smoke? Everywhere you go, somebody who's gonna get you some smoke or something. And Muddy asked me, can you get? All right, yeah. All right, so I got the smoke. And I took it. We were in Denver. I was on the air at KNYR. That station I couldn't remember, KFML in Cherry Creek, where I got hired doing the classical music. When I went to the Baskin Robbins, going back to California. KFML was one station. KNYR was the station of the Villa Italia. So I was working there, and it just the whole scene changed. The music scene changed. The hippie scene came in. Muddy, when he came to Colorado, I mean, like Cream was coming, Janice was coming, everybody was coming. So it's hippie season. So smoke is everywhere. So when Muddy come to town, I brought the smoke. And we were sitting up there, and he told me, all right now, all right now, y'all got to go away now, y'all got to go away. I got to talk to this young man right here. So we get in there, what you got? So we break out the weed. Are you sure this is good? I go, yeah, but here, come on, man, fire up the joint. So I smoked with Muddy Waters. I did coke with James Cotton. Cotton, I mean, those dudes were into it, man. Cotton had an accident with his throat. That's why he doesn't sing anymore. I thought it was because he did so much coke, but it wasn't. Because when you went to that after the show, they had a salsa, not just some coke, a salsa with a mound of coke on it. You just take your spoon, get your own self that you want, take your own little hit. Well, we were weekend benders. I did some coke, but it wasn't my thing. Number one, the high didn't last that long, and the people I saw doing it, this one person I saw, he sent out to buy some coke, right? He just sitting there, and they all snorted up. About a half hour later, man, wow, we need some more. And I was going, man, that's as long as the high lasts. Y'all know to smoke crash, shit. You doing coke after coke after coke. I mean, there's it's gone. No more left to do. And if you want some more, hey man, tell him to bring me another, And this guy says this is gone now. He's gonna go and get it. And I just go, no, I ain't spending that kind of money on. Ain't doing that. No, not for me. Yeah, I'll take some of yours. That's cool, right? I ain't buying none. Well, it really wasn't required because, like, I had a friend, Mia. We recorded a lot together. Barbara, she with the kids when I came on, I was a single parent and I was going back into radio. Barbara spent most of the time at home with the kids because in radio you're going, you're here, you're there, and everywhere. So I had a partner that went with me to help record and stuff like that. And Mia, and we all, the three of us were together for I don't know how many years, years and years and years, and one of the things I saw in Wounded Knee when I was with Seafood Young Bear over in Porcupine District, the Native Americans were not monogamous. The mothers was the mother of all the children in the tribe. Every mother was a mother of all the children. The men, some had more than one wife, some had two. I mean, the ones they had children with, they were their wives, And the saying was, you can have as many wives as you can afford, but not one more. That's people talking about the different, monogamous relationships. Well, monogamy, I understand it, but most of Other cultures weren't monogamous. I mean, they weren't necessarily promiscuous, but they weren't monogamous because they were tribes. And they married within tribes. And within tribes, you had families. And families were married for, so it's like European, and I understand where it came from. I understand the Christianity and all of that. But if you just stop and really look at where we came from, it's a different culture. Even though it was the same creator, the same God, it was a different name. It was a different way of worshiping, you know. And the Native American, what I learned from them, that's what I said, the spiritual awakening. It wasn't so much that. It was a real, I don't know how to put it, a real true way of living life. You know, it wasn't sneaking around with somebody else's wife, and it wasn't doing this and it wasn't doing that. It was respectable. It was normal. It was a part of a way of life. You know? And I thought, well, I can do that. I can adopt that. You know. And the ladies that I was with, we had good relationships, very good relationships. Sharon and you, like you guys are talking together all the time. They were together all the time. When it came time for us to go do work, we would go out, do the recording, do whatever, and I'd take her to her apartment where, you know, and then I'd go home and then we'd get back together and do some other stuff again like that. Sometimes she would spend the night, sometimes not, you know, but I always was like a threesome. And the people just couldn't understand how I made that. Man, wow, how you do that? I go, well, number one, you respect the people that you're with. And number two, you get people that are compatible with each other. Number three, there's an old saying, you can't fuck me and plow me too. So the one that you're going to go to bed with, you keep that one. That's your wife, that's your kids, that's your other. The other one that you're working with, that's your colleague, that's your partner. And if you want the respect of that person, don't try to cheat with them on that. You're going to blow up your whole triad right there. So those are different things that I've done in my life. Uh, uh, I guess some people say you're a womanizer. I don't know what a womanizer is. I mean, I understand what they're saying, womanizer, but that was not me. I mean, I didn't go around exploiting women. I didn't know. You know, so I guess some people say because I had different women at different times and different relationships, I was a womanizer. Okay, if that's what a womanizer is, I was sort of a womanizer. I'll take that. You know, I mean, that's what you said. That's what it was. Okay, at 87, I can be anything. If that's what the definition was and that's what I was doing, then at that point I was a womanizer. Okay, I'm not now. I was then, I guess. I didn't think about it as being a womanizer, but that's what you said was okay. So that's pretty much been my life, you know. The music industry, I think about, sometimes I was talking to you about before about the music industry. I think about Hollywood, man, the Hollywood Palladium, those days back out there with the Les Elgars and the Ray Anthonys, the big white bands, you know. I got to be a part of that just by being in radio. The Count Basses would play at the Palladium. And then you get to know the staff, so when the other bands come, you just go. You know, so I got to see all the bands, and I absorbed all of it. I love Stan Kenton. When Stan Kenton first came out, nobody understood Stan Kenton music, artistry and rhythm, you know, artistry and riff, all those different things that Stan Kenton did because it was abstract. And the horns were not playing the melody all the time. They were playing the melody within something else, you know, improv. And the people didn't, well, I won't say all people, but the people that didn't understand it didn't like it. It was like from that we went to progressive jazz, you know, and bebop. And bebop, I mean, I don't necessarily like East Coast jazz because I understand it because it's execution, you know, and it's elocution. It's what you hear that you can play it that fast and make it work into what you're doing and weave it into that tone line and keep that thing going and float in and out of it, over it, under it, in it, around it. You know, make it yours. That's what the improv and the solo was. Well, he's hearing it in his head. He knows what the melody is that he's playing up and down and around, but I don't. So that's why East Coast jazz, it's more musician jazz because they understand what each other's doing. They appreciate it. The West Coast, it was called laid back jazz. It was more like easy listening jazz. We had Stan Getz, who was a saxophone player. We had Brubeck, who played piano. We had Shirley Man, who played drums. Andre Pevin. A lot of the jazz over on this side were classical people that were playing jazz. So you had a classical touch to it. If you listen to Dave Brubeck and Balcony Rock, the Jazz Goes to College version, there's a short version. It's called Balcony Rock. That's when they just did it as an outtake. But if you listen to Jazz Goes to College, that album, and listen to the 11-minute version of Balcony Rock, when Paul Desmond was on alto, beautiful alto. Anywhere you hear Desmond's alto, it's like, that's Desmond. On the other side of his black, anywhere you hear Gene Ammons, Jug, we called him, he played a big sounding horn. So those people were distinguishable. And those were the days. On this side of town, you had Jug, Gene Ammons playing a big sounding horn. California jazz. On this side, you had Stan Getz playing another horn. In New York, you had Bird, you had Diz, you had Illinois, Cat, you had all the East Coast dudes. That was the East Coast versus the West Coast. So just being a part of all that era. I wound up living in Glendale. Barbara, that got together when I said that we were getting out of the civil rights movement and I was a single parent, but I met Barbara. And Barbara agreed to come along and help me with the kids. And we were together for 25 years. During that course of time, we had our own kids. We had 4 kids of our own. So the 2 older kids, Lena and Tigo, they are different moms, but she raised them. And in addition to our own. So I don't know. It was with Barbara that Barbara and Mia and I together. Then with in the civil rights movement, then that was Phyllis and Marilyn. We were together during the civil rights movement. Marilyn was interpreting because she was a Latin American studies major. I did the organizing, and Phyllis was like the person that the service worker that went to the different houses and different things and found out the needs and helped to organize the house meetings. In the civil rights movement, the way that the movement continued and progressed was each one teach one, and we would have house meetings. Wherever there was a problem, like it was a housing problem, the landlords were putting people out unjust over here, we would go there and house meeting, would meet with one person who had the complaint and find out who they had that had similar complaints, and we'd get them together, and now we got 3 instead of 1. And it progressed from there, and that's how the movement continued and went on. That's, just basic, simple explanations. That's my life. Well, in a nutshell, that's my life. The good, the bad, the ugly. I told you about the Santa Rita, the prison form, and the people that I met there. Camarillo with Charlie Parker, and just that's it.